Hello, and welcome back to the series on precision drone mapping. If you missed lesson 1, we covered how to plan a mapping mission, check your airspace, and set up the drone for high accuracy mapping using a CORS network. That foundation is essential, so if you haven't watched that yet, make sure to check it out first. In lesson 2, we're going to walk through everything you need to do the day before and the day of your mission to ensure a smooth, legal, and successful flight. Let's get into it. First, always recheck the airspace on the day of your mission. Just because it was clear during planning doesn't mean that it still is. Here, I still use the Aloft Mission Control app as we did in lesson 1. It gives real-time airspace info plus warnings of upcoming TFRs, and it's all presented in a nice visual format. Just to be sure, I often cross-check this against the FAA TFR list. This is especially important if you live near sensitive areas. VIP TFRs are common in our region and can pop up with very little notice. I've never seen Mission Control fail to show a TFR, but I have seen it show ones that were cancelled. Also, if the area needs Lance authorization, then you can do this here before you get on site. It's super fast and usually gets approved in seconds if you're within the standard altitude limits. A pro tip: the FAA has a mailing list that gives you early warning of upcoming TFRs, and you often get notified of them several days or even a week before they appear on the website. Getting that early warning can be super helpful. Often you can move a job earlier instead of missing out, or worst case, you can give the clients a heads up that there might be a problem. To sign up for that, go to faasafety.gov and check your account preferences. There's an option that says Selected ATC Notices, and if you select that, you'll be notified of TFRs early. Next, check the weather conditions using UAV Forecast. Unlike standard weather apps, this one gives you wind speed at multiple altitudes. It also covers things like GPS satellite availability and other flight-relevant metrics. One thing that's very important is that wind and cold, especially at altitude, can dramatically reduce your battery life, and we're going to talk about batteries next. So the night before your flight, make sure that you have enough batteries for the mission. Even better, bring a way to charge on site if possible. If you're not sure how much airtime you need, you can open the mission on the controller and see how much time it estimates it will take. You should then be able to get a rough estimate of the number of batteries by dividing the number of minutes by how much time each battery gives. Make sure that all of your batteries and your controller are charged. Also, if this will be a long day of flying, bring along a means of charging your controller while you fly. A USB power brick with a long cable can be good for this, as you can put it in your pocket and it won't affect your ability to move around. Now that you have all that done, it's time to head to the site. During your prep phase, you should have scoped out a few likely places to take off from. If you're taking off from private property like a business parking lot, you really should get permission, especially if this is going to be a regular location. You might get away with it once or twice, but eventually someone's going to ask questions. It's best to stay ahead of that. Also, consider the elevation of your takeoff point. If it's significantly higher or lower than the area your mission is mapped to, that can cause altitude issues. You'll need to adjust your mission accordingly. When it's time to start up the drone, make sure your RTK unit is physically installed. I was confused one time when my RTK refused to connect until I realized I'd not installed it. Once you start the drone, connect to the CORS provider you set up in lesson 1. If you saved it as a preset, this should be quick and easy to do. Don't forget that you do need internet connection to your controller for this to work. Once you're connected to an RTK CORS station, you can see an estimate of the accuracy at the bottom of the RTK screen. You can also see the location of the base station in the panel on the right-hand side. If you have access to multiple CORS providers, you can switch between them to see which one gives the best results. Now take a moment to scan the site visually. Look for any temporary obstacles like cranes or new construction that weren't there during the planning phase. These can throw off your flight path and require adjustments. I will often fly the drone up to the altitude I'll be mapping at, point the camera straight out, and then look around. If something is off in the distance, you can use the zoom if your drone has one to check it out, or worst case, fly over there and have a look. Once RTK is connected, go ahead and open the mission by going into the flight route area, and then select the mission that you want to run. Press play to launch the mission. You'll be taken through a couple of screens. These are good for checking your settings. There are two that I pay particular attention to. For mapping, I typically keep dewarp turned off, which is the default, and I switch the camera to shutter priority mode and set the shutter to 1/1000th of a second. That gives me sharp, blur-free images as long as the lighting is good, and the processing software we will be using actually prefers the unaltered images for mapping. A shutter speed of 1000 is great for sunny days, but if it's overcast, you can find your ISO value getting too high. My rule of thumb is not to let the ISO go above 400, as that can introduce noise into the images. Keep an eye on that when mapping, and if necessary, stop the mission, make an adjustment by slowing the shutter speed down, and then restart the mission. On very dark days, you might need to slow the drone down to avoid motion blur when you do this. Once all that is ready, start the mission and watch it fly. If RTK is working correctly, you will see RTK shown in white at the top of the screen. However, it is possible that RTK can be lost during the flight for a variety of reasons, such as poor GPS or cell signal. If that happens, the text will turn orange. The flight will continue, but you should take note and try to fix the problem. Any images taken while the text is orange may not be accurately geotagged and may require adjustment. We will discuss options for how to correct this in the final video, which covers troubleshooting. However, if you can obtain a good RTK fix again, you might want to refly this portion of the mission instead of spending time fixing it in post. If the drone can't complete the mission on one battery, it will return home and land. Swap in a fresh battery, press play, and you'll be prompted to resume from the breakpoint. Before you leave the site, it's a good idea to check your data. I run a local instance of WebODM on my laptop and just drag the images into it. That lets me see if the photo positions make sense. I also spot check a bunch of the photos. You don't want to get back to the office only to realize you've got a smudge on the lens or missed half your shots. If everything checks out, you're good to leave the site. In Lesson 3, we'll cover processing your images into maps and models, including how to clean them up and export the deliverables for your clients. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.